You handed control to something without fear. 2 weeks later, your account did something you never expected. That twist is coming, but first, understand this isn't a promise of profit. Results like this aren't guaranteed, and this video is purely educational. By the end, you'll question everything about why you lose money. You already know that panicked feeling. You watch a candle reverse on you, your heart beats in your throat, and you close the trade early for a loss. An hour later, the price rockets toward your original target without you. The pattern plays out because your method was never broken. You were broken. It's not your fault. The human brain is wired to seek safety, but the market demands costly discipline over comfort. Your emotion isn't a flaw. It's the predictable software running your decisions, and that software has a virus you didn't install. You know the feeling. You took a loss, swore you'd never do it again. Then 2 weeks later, same mistake. Revenge trading, FOMO entries, panic exits. It's not your fault. It's the method. You're wired to react, and the market feeds on that. I was you, staring at charts at 3 a.m., heart pounding, clicking refresh like a gambler at a slot machine. The noise in my head was deafening. Every candle felt personal. I'd chase a breakout, then watch it reverse. I'd exit too early, then see it run without me. My journal was a graveyard of impulsive decisions. I knew the patterns, but my hands defied my brain. The system was broken, but the system was me. But here's where it gets strange. I didn't try to fix me, I tried to replace me. I turned to ChatGPT, not because it's smarter, but because it has zero emotions. Zero ego, zero fear. It doesn't care about the money it lost yesterday. It doesn't need to be right. It just calculates. Think about that. What would you do if you could delete your emotions for a week? If every trade was just a probability, not a personal battle? I set up a small account, real money, because skin in the game matters. I gave the AI 3 rules. Protect capital at all costs. Only take trades with positive expectancy, and ignore news unless it changes the technical structure. No discretion, just execution. I fed it price data, indicators, volume. I was a gambler, handing the dice to a calculator. The first trade it suggested made my stomach drop. I'd prepared the setup, but seeing the order on the screen triggered every instinct. Shorting into what felt like a rocket. My hand hovered over the mouse. My breath got shallow. I could hear my own voice screaming, "This is a trap." But the AI didn't flinch. It had no story. It saw a 72% win rate setup over 2,000 backtests. I saw my last 3 losses. I saw the shame. I saw the rent money. I was a storm of psychology, and this machine was a still pond. Stillness creates clarity. Clarity creates memory. Memory creates discipline. That chain became my anchor. I clicked execute, not because I was brave, but because I was tired of being the weak link. Day 1 arrived. I set the system live before the London Open. The AI's first command wasn't a trade. It read, "Wait, no valid setup, probability of noise edge, do nothing." I almost laughed, do nothing. My old self would have grabbed a coffee and forced a scalping opportunity. Instead, I sat there, staring at a screen that told me to be patient. The tension was physical. My leg bounced. I checked my phone. I refreshed the feed. The AI just waited. It didn't feel bored. It didn't fear missing out. It was a stone in a river of adrenaline. Then at 8:42 a.m. the command appeared. Sell EURUSD at 1.1123. Stop loss 12 pips. Take profit 34 pips. No explanation. No reassuring pat on the back. Just cold instruction. My finger trembled. I was about to follow a machine's decision, and it felt like jumping off a cliff. You sit down at your desk, charts loaded, finger hovering over the buy button. The AI pings its first recommendation, do nothing. Wait, nothing. My finger was itching to trade. You feel that same itch, don't you? The market's open and you need to be in a position. But the machine sat in perfect stillness. No FOMO, no rush. It understood something we forget: not trading is a position. Stillness creates clarity. Clarity creates memory. Memory creates discipline. It felt unnatural, wrong, even. Your brain screams at you to act because you've been trained to chase. This is the first thing it did that I could never do myself. The AI then started coldly calculating. Position size, 0.25%. Risk per trade, exactly 1% of equity. It refused setup after setup that didn't meet its hard criteria, while my old self would have thrown 10% of the account at a feeling. I traded like a kid with a machine gun, spraying bullets and hoping. The machine traded like a sniper: one shot, one kill, or no shot at all. It had no ego, no need to prove itself, no revenge trading after a loss. And if you're watching this, you know exactly how that feels: the burning urge to make it back, to be right, to feel the action. That's not your fault, it's human wiring. The AI had none of it. Finally, a tiny signal met the algorithm's conditions. It entered a trade so small, so calculated, that my heart rate didn't even tick up. The target was a measly 0.5 R, the stop tight. It wasn't a moon shot. It wasn't a glorious callout. It was boring. And that's exactly why it worked. The position management was robotic: no moving stops prematurely, no early profit taking. You and we would have micromanaged it, nudged the stop, taken screenshots for the group. The AI just waited. And then it exited, pocketing a tiny, unsexy win while I felt nothing but a strange, hollow anticlimax. No dopamine hit, no story to tell. That hollowness was the first real lesson. I sat there restless, watching paint dry, and realized I wasn't just addicted to making money, I was addicted to the drama of trading. The boredom physically bothered me. You felt it. You close a rational trade early just so you can feel alive entering another one. The AI forced me to stare at that discomfort. It didn't judge. It simply followed rules, and its lack of emotion reflected mine back at me. Slowly, a question crept in. Do I actually want to be disciplined, or do I just want the rush? The stillness became a mirror, and I didn't like what I saw. By the end of day 2, the AI had taken 3 trades, all tiny, all profit, all forgettable. But I wasn't sleeping well. Not because of the P and L, because I was learning a truth I'd run from for years. My identity as a trader was built on chaos. Without the adrenaline, the big swings, the gambler's tailies, I didn't know who I was. The machine had stripped all of that away, and underneath was just a guy craving validation through action. You might be terrified of facing that same emptiness. I was, and that's exactly where the transformation begins. The machine wasn't trading the market, it was exposing me. Every emotional trap you've stumbled into, the AI sidestepped with cold precision. It held no attachment to past decisions, no fear of being wrong. You know that gnawing feeling. A trade moves against you, and instead of cutting it, you freeze. You hope for a reversal, but hope turns into paralysis. That's loss aversion, and it's not your fault. It's human nature to avoid pain, but in trading, that instinct becomes a liability. The AI didn't care about losses. It simply calculated probability. Stillness creates clarity. Clarity creates memory. Memory creates discipline. Watching it operate was like seeing my own flaws projected onto a screen. It didn't argue with the data. It didn't negotiate. It just executed. You felt that hesitation, logic versus emotion. The AI had no conflict. But loss aversion was just the first layer. The AI exposed a deeper trap, the sunk cost fallacy. You've held a losing trade because you invested time, energy, and hope into it. You think, I've already lost so much. I can't close now. That's like a hoarder refusing to discard broken items. The surgeon cuts away dead tissue to save the patient. The AI acted like a surgeon, snipping losers instantly. Then came confirmation bias. You scan the charts looking for evidence that supports your trade, ignoring the warning signs. Number 3 is the one that's secretly destroying your account right now. The AI had no ego, no need to be right. It simply followed the data, even when it contradicted its initial logic. Stillness creates clarity. Clarity creates memory. Memory creates discipline. I watched it, clinging to my biases. I remember one specific trade. I held it for 3 days, watching it bleed, convinced it would rebound. The AI had already closed a similar position in minutes. It saw no recovery, so it moved on. I was acting like a hoarder, collecting losing trades and praying for a turnaround. The surgeon cuts away the decay to save the body, and the AI did exactly that. How many losing trades are you holding right now because you feel they'll bounce back? That feeling is an anchor, dragging your account down trade by trade. Stillness creates clarity. Clarity creates memory. Memory creates discipline. The AI didn't hope. It didn't pray. It followed the cold, hard numbers. Every time I hesitated, the AI had already acted, and its results spoke louder than my excuses. It was a mirror of my own indecision. Then came the day I thought I knew better. The AI signaled a short trade on a stock I believed was strong. Fear whispered that the machine was wrong, so I overrode it, buying instead. That single override cost me more than I'll admit until later. Within hours, the market reversed exactly as the AI predicted. I watched my account drain, frozen in regret. The AI had no ego to bruise, I did. My pride turned a calculated move into a costly mistake. Stillness creates clarity. Clarity creates memory. Memory creates discipline. You felt that compulsion, that urge to trust your gut over the data. But your gut is often just fear in disguise. The machine wasn't predicting, it was calculating. My override was pure emotion, and the market punished it without mercy. I ignored the one clear sign. The enemy isn't the market, it's the face staring back from your monitor. The AI exposed that truth with every trade. It didn't beat the market by outsmarting it, it beat me by outdisciplining me. Stillness creates clarity. Clarity creates memory. Memory creates discipline. You're not fighting algorithms or hedge funds. You're fighting your own impulses, your own stories, your own refusal to accept when you're wrong. That's the psychology mirror, and once you see it, you can't unsee it. The AI wasn't a trading bot. It was a teacher, a relentless truth teller. But this revelation is only part of the journey. Next, I'll reveal how this discipline transformed during midweek chaos, where the real test began. This was the quiet before the storm. Stay with me. It changed everything. The real test is next. I'll show you how, soon. Day 3 nearly broke me. You know that feeling when the screen just keeps turning red? Your chest tightens, your pulse races, your mind starts screaming. That was me on day 3, watching a brutal losing streak unfold in real time, sweat literally dripping down my back. It wasn't just about the money. It was the visceral panic of watching your hard work evaporate, while a calm, logical AI voice recommended the exact opposite of what my gut was screaming. The machine was cold, calculating, and I was on fire. You take a painful loss and the immediate urge is to get it back. That's the trap. That is how you blow up an account. Every instinct screamed at me to shut it all down. This is the psychological concept of tilt. You're not thinking, you're reacting. Emotion sabotages even the most perfect system because it makes the probability of a single trade feel heavier than the expectancy of 100 trades. I was the passenger screaming while the autopilot flew calmly through turbulence. I wanted to abandon the experiment, to delete the AI, to fix things myself. But here's the hard truth. The manual override is exactly how you crash the plane. The AI didn't flinch. It didn't see a loss. It just saw data, a statistical blip within expected variance, and it stayed the course. Stillness creates clarity. Clarity creates memory. Memory creates discipline. The AI's consistency wasn't just a feature, it was the whole game. It forced me to witness that no single trade defines you. Only the execution of the plan defines you. As the drawdown deepened, the machine's logic became a mirror reflecting my own chaos. And if you can't master that chaos, the market will eat you alive. That is why you have to remove yourself from the equation. Then day 4 delivered a plot twist I never saw coming. The market shifted. The AI, which looked so foolish during the panic, suddenly caught a move. With zero emotion, zero hesitation, it executed the recovery exactly as designed. Not by revenge trading, not by doubling down, but by patiently following the high-probability setup. That partial recovery wasn't just profit, it was a validation. It proved that patience isn't about doing nothing. It's about waiting for the moment where the odds are stacked in your favor. The loss was just tuition paid for a lesson in machine-like discipline. If this reality check hit you hard, smash that like button and subscribe. Comment "trading" below right now. It's a contract to yourself to stay disciplined. You need to hold yourself accountable, and this is step 1. Don't fight the battle alone. I put 2 free gifts in the description I wish I had years ago. First, the 15-step pre-trade checklist. Never enter a trade blindly again. Second, a risk management calculator so you never blow up an account with oversized bets. Grab them and skyrocket your results. Day 5 is when the account exploded, but it almost taught me the wrong lesson. The AI nailed a major move, a perfect entry, a flawless exit. You watch the profit spike, and your brain floods with dopamine. Your heart races. You feel invincible. And in that moment, you're tempted to credit the win to luck or to get greedy. You think, this is easy, I should size up next time. But the market doesn't care about your emotions. Your pain comes from riding that high into a cliff. It's not your fault, it's the method. The AI didn't cheer. It simply followed the rules: discipline over dopamine, stillness over noise. Stillness creates clarity. Clarity creates memory. Memory creates discipline. You feel like an exception. Every nerve demands more risk. That feeling is the trap, and it's everywhere. After a win, your mind plays tricks. And this is exactly the trap that wipes out 90% of traders after a big win. You start believing this streak is your new reality. The house money effect takes hold. You treat profit as free capital, not real loss. Your risk boundaries blur. You take trades you'd never take before. The AI didn't fall for it. It reverted to its baseline, sizing down immediately. No celebration, no adjustment. It walked forward with the same quiet rhythm. Stillness creates clarity. Clarity creates memory. Memory creates discipline. The market doesn't reward excitement, it rewards systems. Your pain from past wins came from overconfidence. You felt invincible, then you gave it all back. This isn't your fault, it's the method. You see others fall, but you think you're different. That belief is the danger. Contrast this with the AI. It celebrated nothing. It just kept walking. Post-win, it didn't analyze the thrill. It ran its algorithm, cutting risk to the bone. Each position stayed small, mechanical, immune to the dopamine surge. Stillness creates clarity. Clarity creates memory. Memory creates discipline. You see, the win was just data, not a reason to expand, but to confirm the system. Your brain wants to extrapolate. One good trade means more good trades. The AI knows better. It understands variance. It knows the next trade is independent. Your failure came from treating winning streaks as permission to relax. The AI treats them as tests of resilience. This difference is everything. The market punishes arrogance. It rewards the quiet mind. Your discipline must outlast your excitement. The AI proves it's possible. Win with grace, not greed. That's the true lesson. I would have done the opposite. After that win, my pulse would race. I'd mentally spend the profit before it settled. I'd double down, convinced I was on a hot streak. The house money would burn a hole in my discipline. I'd increase size, chase the next move, override every rule. And that's where the pain begins. That's where 90% of traders spiral. When you win big, do you protect it or gamble it back? Your answer reveals everything. The AI didn't face this war. It had no ego to soothe, no excitement to feed. It simply executed. Stillness creates clarity. Clarity creates memory. Memory creates discipline. Your emotional brain is the enemy. The data is neutral. You must learn to treat wins like losses with cold analysis. That's how you survive. The AI showed me this truth every day. And yet this wasn't the final test. Day 5 was just a chapter. The real verdict arrives in the last 2 days, where endurance meets truth. When the AI faces drawdowns, when the system is strained, that's when the lesson becomes flesh. You see, a big win can set a trap for your psychology, but master it and you bend the arc of your trading life. Stillness creates clarity. Clarity creates memory. Memory creates discipline. The open loop remains. Does the AI hold its nerve? Do you? Your trading pain has always come from losing what you won. Breaking that cycle changes everything. Stay tuned for the final days. The answer might redefine your limits. Imagine a version of you that doesn't flinch after a win. That walks with the AI's calm. That's what's possible. The next 2 days prove it. Here's exactly how the machine thought, and you can steal this. No guessing, no gut feel. The AI operated on a pure rule-based framework, entry signals defined in advance, risk per trade locked at a fixed percentage, no exceptions. You know the chaos of a chart the moment you hesitate because a setup feels different. It never felt, it simply asked, does price match condition A, B, and C? If yes, enter. If no, wait. Stillness creates clarity. Clarity creates memory. Memory creates discipline. You've lost money chasing patterns that looked perfect but weren't rule-based. That pain isn't your fault, it's the method or lack of one. The AI's sterile consistency removed the root cause of revenge trading and hesitation. But there was one fatal flaw I have to warn you about. The system couldn't read live news, sentiment shifts, or black swan events. It was a brilliant chess player who couldn't see the board was on fire. You take a trade that meets every rule, then a headline drops and you're stopped out. The AI would take that loss every time without understanding why. Understand this. AI is a tool, not a crystal ball. If you treat it like a prophet, you'll bleed. The market's emotional currents, fear, euphoria, manipulation, were invisible to it. That limitation doesn't make it useless. It makes it honest. Stillness creates clarity. Your own mind, flooded with news and noise, creates the same blind spots. The flaw wasn't in the code. It was in the assumption that any system sees everything. What made it powerful wasn't prediction. It was the absence of the one thing destroying your account: emotion. Consistency replaced impulse. No euphoria after a win, no desperation after a loss. It just executed. You know that feeling when a trade goes against you and you widen your stop just a little. The AI never did. Predefined risk per trade meant every loss was a planned, survivable event. Stillness creates clarity. Clarity creates memory. Memory creates discipline. And discipline compounds. The machine's perfect record-keeping meant every entry, exit, and drawdown was logged without bias. No deleting the losers from memory. That stark, unflinching honesty is where your edge lives. But most traders never build it because they're too busy chasing the next setup. The most valuable part wasn't the trades, it was the journal it created. Every decision, time-stamped and tagged with the rule that triggered it, became a mirror. Most traders journal like a diary. I felt confident, market looked strong. That's poetry, not data. The AI built a feedback loop that showed exactly which rules worked, which broke, and under what conditions. You could finally see the pattern behind your pattern failures. Stillness creates clarity. That journal turned trading from a guessing game into a scientific process. You're not trying harder, you're iterating smarter. Without a loop like this, you're destined to repeat the same mistakes. 2 weeks later, the same painful loss, wondering why. It's not your fault. You were never given a system to see yourself clearly. The experiment peeled back layers most traders never reach. We had a machine executing logic without emotion, revealing the raw truth of edge and variance. And the results? They hit a twist that redefines what success means in trading. I'll reveal the final numbers, the profit, the drawdown, the metric that surprised everyone in the next part. But before that, ask yourself, if you had a journal that tracked your every decision with brutal honesty, what would it show? The AI's power wasn't its code, it was the discipline it forced. Stillness creates clarity, and clarity might just change how you see every trade from now on. The final results are not what you expect. 7 days. A blur of charts, signals, and zero emotional decisions. The final number was not what anyone expected. The account closed down $87. Not a catastrophic loss. Not a life-changing win. Just a small, quiet loss after a week of surgical patience. There were 4 small wins, a break-even trade, and one clear loser where the machine stubbornly stuck to a signal that went stale. You know that feeling. You watch a trade reverse, your gut screams get out, but you freeze. The AI didn't freeze. It just followed the plan. The loss was clean, mechanical, and immediately forgotten. That's where your journey and the machine's journey diverge. You would have relived that loss for a week, revenge trading the pain away. The machine just moved to the next setup without a heartbeat. Stillness creates clarity. Clarity creates memory. Memory creates discipline. But the money was never the real story. While the AI produced a small loss in a choppy market, I pulled my own historical data from a similar week. My performance. A drawdown 3 times larger, fueled by frustration and impulsive lot sizing. You know why? Because your brain is wired for survival, not steady accumulation. You take a painful loss, and 2 weeks later you make the exact same mistake. That minus $87 was a tuition fee for a masterclass in self-control. The machine didn't make me rich. It showed me where my leaks were. It pointed a cold, logical finger at the exact moment boredom usually triggers an overtrade, and the exact heartbeat where panic usually cuts a runner short. So would I trust a robot with my money forever? No. Handing a man a scalpel doesn't make him a surgeon, and handing an AI your account doesn't automatically fix a broken trading psychology. The danger is blinding yourself to market context. A machine lacks intuition for sudden economic shifts or a breaking news shockwave. It's a tool, not a replacement for the educated, disciplined self you must become. The final lesson wasn't about the code holding steady. It was about you recognizing that the silence between your actions is where your edge lives. The question I'm left with, the one that cuts deeper than any profit made or lost, is simple and will shape everything you do next. These 5 lessons are worth more than any winning trade. Let me give them to you. Lesson 1. Patience beats activity. You feel the urge to act, to fix, to force a trade because the silence is uncomfortable. But stillness creates clarity. Clarity creates memory. Memory creates discipline. You don't get paid for clicking buttons. You get paid for waiting until the market hands you your setup. The best traders are professional waiters. Lesson 2. Cut losses without ego. You take a loss and that sting makes you want to get it back immediately. That's your ego talking. A loss is not a judgment on your worth. It's a business expense. The moment you can close a losing trade with the same emotional flatline as closing a winning one, you stop hemorrhaging capital. You free up mental space. You live to trade another day. It's not your fault you feel this, but you must override it. Lesson 3 is the one nobody talks about. Position sizing is everything. You obsess over entries, but the real psychological weight is the number of shares or contracts. Trade too big and your IQ drops 30 points. Fear hijacks your brain. Trade small enough that you feel almost bored, and you can finally see the chart for what it is, not what you're terrified it might become. Size dictates sanity. Lesson 4. Process over outcome. You can make a perfect decision and lose money. You can be reckless and get rich on a fluke. The market doesn't grade your decision, it only delivers a result. If you judge yourself by the outcome, you'll reinforce bad habits and crush good ones. You must build a machine inside yourself that judges the quality of the decision, not the randomness of the result. That is true self-respect. Lesson 5. You are your own biggest enemy. I tried to outsource discipline to a machine, a black box, a set of rules on a screen, only to realize I had to build it inside myself. The algorithm wasn't the fix. I was the bug. Your impulses, your hope, your fear, that's the opponent. Master that opponent and you finally hold the keys. Which of these 5 do you struggle with most? That's not a rhetorical question. So how do you build it? You adopt the rituals of a machine manually. You write down the trade before you take it. State the reason, the stop, the target. When the exit triggers, you exit. No negotiation. You log the emotional state, not just the. Slowly, you starve the reactive animal brain and feed the calm, rule-based operator. No robot required. Just a human being who finally decided to stop sabotaging themselves. So can ChatGPT make you rich? The honest answer surprised me. Going in, I thought maybe I'd discovered some cheat code, but the real gold was far more uncomfortable to mine. You start this journey bleeding cash, punching your desk, revenge trading your account into dust. Every loss felt personal, every win just relief masking deeper anxiety. Now look at the other side. You're no longer a gambler chasing adrenaline. You're an operator managing probability. The transformation wasn't a secret indicator or a magic prompt. It was the brutal realization that the numbers on your P&L aren't attacking you. They're just reflecting an undisciplined process you kept ignoring. The dream wasn't freedom from a boss. It was freedom from your own impulsive, dopamine-addicted brain. The charts don't hate you. They don't even know you exist. Once you accept that, the fear quiets down enough for the logic to finally kick in. The robot just held up a mirror I'd been avoiding for years. That data stream didn't show me a market inefficiency. It showed me I was the inefficiency. The AI had no emotional bank account to hemorrhage. It didn't pray for a reversal just because it was right yesterday. It simply measured, weighted, and struck. I realized I didn't need to find a better system. I needed to finally obey the one I already had. ChatGPT became the accountability partner that didn't care about my feelings. It watched every mouse click and quietly logged the damage when I broke my own stop-loss rules. That mirror was harsh, but it didn't lie. Let's get serious for a second. This was a psychological experiment, not financial advice. The results aren't guaranteed because no AI can physically trade for you or stop you from hitting the buy button during a panic attack. Money evaporates fast in the markets, and no language model replaces your responsibility. You could have the perfect blueprint from the best hedge fund in the world and still blow up your account if you don't manage your risk. This isn't about letting code take the wheel. It's about using code to debug the dangerous hardware sitting between your ears. The AI catches the patterns, but you must execute the play. You sign the checks. You bear the risk. Never delegate that ultimate responsibility to a machine. Now picture this. You wake up and the market is crashing. News headlines are screaming panic, but you don't feel that cold sweat. Your heart rate stays low. Why? Because your job isn't to predict chaos. Your job is to patiently sit on your hands until price action hits one of the 3 institutional setups your checklist demands. You are the autopilot, calm, clinical, detached. The passengers outside are panicking, bailing out of the plane mid-flight, but you're watching the altimeter. You trust the system. That's the vision. A life where discipline becomes such a visceral habit that you execute the boring, profitable script, while the rest of the world loses its mind and gives you their money. That's the actual freedom. Be the autopilot, not the panicking passenger. When turbulence hits, the passenger screams logic at the cockpit door, but the autopilot feels nothing. It makes micro-adjustments based on altitude and speed, not headlines. It sticks to the flight plan until it reaches the destination. Trading is identical. You must disassociate from the social media noise and the red candles screaming danger. The passenger in you wants to break the panel and change course immediately. The autopilot in you knows the storm was already priced into the route. Your emotion doesn't move the market, but it will absolutely blow up your account. Release the white-knuckle grip on the yoke, and let your disciplined rules fly the plane. If this experiment opened your eyes to the real battle, hit that like button to tell the algorithm we value mental toughness over fake Lambo hype. Subscribe because I run these psychological gauntlets so you don't have to blindly walk through them alone. The next experiment is already a dangerous test of patience, and you don't want to miss watching me wrestle with my own demons live. Right now, type the word trading in the comments. Don't just scroll away. Typing that single word is your public signature locking in your commitment. It's the first act of accountability for a disciplined future. The community holds you to that. If you say it, you have to live it. We've proven the machine won't save you, but it can expose you. The next experiment takes this even further. We're isolating the single most destructive market emotion I've ever faced and putting it under a microscope with no filter. Trust me, the results are uncomfortable. If you're ready to stop being the crash test dummy of your own trading account, hit subscribe, type trading, and grab those gifts. I'll see you in the next one. The mirror is waiting.